like clock. I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop.
The next 4 episodes of spoilers were finally translated by the GOAT Organic Dinosaur, and now we actually get to talk about it now. The first episode that we do have to talk about is episode 165. The title is going to be The Duty of the Quadruplets. Into the actual paragraph it says, even though Boruto and his comrades have broken out of Yuga's barrier, they are now being held back by Haruga, who is the second eldest son of the siblings. Just like Yuga, Haruga is trying to accomplish the mission that they've been given through any means possible. Because of Haruga's jutsu, Boruto and his comrades have become completely immobilized. While struggling in their attempts to dispel the jutsu, Boruto is bewildered by how the siblings are fighting, since they have no regard for their own lives, and presses him for their motives. And so, what will Haruga tell Boruto? I know this episode is something that I touched on in my last review when I talked about the Boruto anime. It's going to be very good character development for Boruto. I spoke about how Boruto doesn't necessarily know exactly what it means to be a shinobi. Of course, over the years, the shinobi's definition changed a lot, but nowadays, a shinobi is basically just a weapon. You have to actually be literally willing to sacrifice your life for the mission. Boruto sees being a shinobi as something extremely cool. One of the greatest examples of this is Boruto basically idolizing Sasuke because he seems cool, but he doesn't necessarily understand what Sasuke is sacrificing by taking on the quote-unquote Shadow Hokage role. He doesn't understand that what Sasuke is trying to atone for by actually doing this and not necessarily being in the village as much as he wants to be. And of course, he still feels like he has to atone for something, but Boruto doesn't necessarily understand that. Now, in terms of being a shinobi, is Boruto willing to sacrifice himself for a mission that he's actually on? Now, of course, Boruto has been in life or death situations, and of course, Boruto has actually went on missions where he understands that he's going to be in a life or death situation. But if Boruto is actually in a situation where he has to knowingly give away his life because of the good of the mission, will Boruto actually do so? And I don't want to be unfair to Boruto mainly because there are a lot of shinobis who are not willing to make that decision. But for the sake of character development in this arc, Boruto will actually come face to face and actually confront 4 different people. Well, actually confront 3 different people because he didn't necessarily confront the first quadruplet. But regardless, he's going to be confronting multiple people who actually are willing to sacrifice their own life for the good of their own mission. That's going to be very interesting for Boruto and of course his character development in this actual arc. Now, the next episode is going to be episode 166. The title is going to be A Battle to the Death. Now, into the actual paragraph says, before encountering a belligerent, mysterious man named Deepa, Boruto and his comrades had wanted to catch up to Asaka, the eldest brother of the shinobi siblings from the Haze country, by any means necessary. After some struggling, Boruto and his comrades have finally managed to arrive at his location. However, Deepa arrived just a short time later. Boruto and his comrades were then suddenly attacked by Deepa. No matter the countermeasure or attacks, they were no use, and they couldn't hide their impatience and frustration from an enemy who took pride in his astonishing combat skills. But just then, Victor, who is the company president of the medical treatment manufacturing facility, appeared there for some reason. Now, Organic Dinosaur also added on to those spoils by saying Victor arrived after they had already been driven into a corner by Deepa. Alright, now just from this paragraph, it seems like Team 7 is going to be getting destroyed by Deepa, and it's going to be a very cool sight to see. Now, one thing that I will be looking into, I want to see how easily Deepa does do this. I understand that Deepa is automatically confirmed going to be able to beat Team 7, but is Deepa going to do it with a smile on his face, similar to what he did to Omu? And of course, you understand that Deepa did actually go quote-unquote serious for a tiny bit in the latter parts of the Omu battle. Is Deepa going to have that same easy time in this situation, or is Deepa going to have an even easier time in this situation? We understand that Omu broke out multiple jutsus that just had no effect on Deepa, and it seems like this is going to be the same thing in this particular situation, because the paragraph said no matter what countermeasures or what attacks, they couldn't necessarily lay a finger on Deepa. And of course, not only is it going to be interesting to see how the regular Team 7 talk about the Gettings fare, but also how is Konohamaru and Mujino going to fare. One thing that's super interesting is the title to this episode. It says A Battle to the Death. Now, I'm not sure who exactly is going to die in this episode, but it seems like the writers do actually want to build up that hype to actually say that the character might actually die in this episode. Now, for the people who actually do read the manga, I want you guys to not spoil anything for the anime onlys out there, but regardless, the writers actually do want to prove a point with that title, so it's going to be very interesting to see exactly who actually comes very close and who actually does die in the next episode. Now, it doesn't necessarily give us the conclusion to what exactly is going on with the Hashirama cell. Does Victor actually have the Hashirama cell? Does Deepa have the Hashirama cell? Or did Team 7 actually complete the mission before they got completely mollywopped by Deepa? It's going to be a lot of information that we do have to get from that episode. But the next episode is going to be 167. The title is going to be Both of Their Resolutions. Now, into the actual paragraph, it says, since Boruto and his comrades sustained some serious injuries from their battle with Deepa, they decided to return back to the village. It's been arranged for Boruto and Uchiha Sada to receive treatment from the medical team, whereas Mitsuki will head over to Orochimaru's location for some medical care. In their recent battle, Boruto and Sada were truly unable to land a solid blow or even compete against Deepa. Bearing those frustrating thoughts in their hearts and minds, they made some decisions and resolutions. Meanwhile, Saratobi Konohama reported about the incident to the Hokage and some other people. He wanted to investigate further. In order to look for any connections to Kata, he asked the Hokage for permission to do some reconnaissance about Victor's company. Alright, now this episode right here, it seems like Boruto and Sada basically got a reality check. Now, in the last episode, they said they got absolutely mollywopped by Deepa, but now it seems like Boruto and Sada, their egos are also bruised as well. It said that Boruto and Sada were not able to land a hit, not even a scintilla of a blow against Deepa. Now, of course, you understand that Mitsuki, Konohama, and Mujino, they probably did land something against Deepa, but it probably wasn't good enough for Deepa to actually feel it, man, because as we've seen, they were driven into a corner before Victor actually arrived. So all of them got a reality check. And I hate to talk about the same thing throughout every episode, but in this episode, I think that Boruto's character development is also going to take another step as well. Boruto had a major reality check. One thing about Boruto is that Boruto is extremely overconfident. He has irrational confidence, like J.R. Smith. He thinks that he could beat anybody. Now, when we talk about Otsutsuki members who actually invaded the Hidden Leaf Village, he wanted to fight them. Mitsuki and Shingi did too as well. But I guarantee, like Charles Barkley, I guarantee that when he sees Deepa, he's probably going to say, yo, we're going to destroy this guy. This guy probably isn't good enough. Boruto's going to have that level of confidence. And when Boruto is not able to land not a single blow, it's going to be very damaging to his ego, and Boruto's going to have to look himself in the mirror. That's going to be a very cool scene for character development and also entertainment wise, man, because a lot of people just don't like Boruto. Now, it's also going to be interesting to see how Mitsuki also handles this as well. It seems that Mitsuki also sustained a bit of damage because he is going to be getting some medical treatment from Orochimaru's location. But how did Mitsuki do? And also, how did Konohama and Mujino do? I spoke about this before, how Mujino seems like he's the alpha, the clear alpha of this pseudo Team 7, and Konohama is kind of taking the backseat, even though we understand that Konohama's ceiling could possibly even be Hokage. Konohama needs to step up in a situation like this versus a formidable character like Deepa. I'm not saying that Konohama needs to deal some extremely significant damage versus Deepa, man, because we understand that that's probably not going to happen. But how is Konohama going to fare in a battle such as this? Is he going to completely fold, or will he actually step up to the challenge? Now, into the next episode, episode 168. The title is The Training Begins. Interactive paragraph says, truly feeling inadequate about themselves, Boruto and Sada have decided to get some more training in order to become stronger. Currently, the strongest jutsu that Boruto can use is the Rasengan. He's thinking about trying to make it his own and into something that's even more powerful than before. Since there's another person who can use the Rasengan, Kakashi, Boruto pays him a visit. Meanwhile, Sada begins a strict and intensive training in order to master the Sharingan while being under the guidance of her father, Sasuke. In addition, Konohama and Jonin Mujino have received formal permission to pay a visit to Victor's company. They'll be confronting Victor directly in order to figure out his motives. Alright, now this episode right here seems to be a very cool episode. A lot of people automatically off the rip have been wanting to see an episode, not even an episode, a full-blown arc of training. A lot of people want to see Boruto training with Sasuke. A lot of people want to see Sada training with Naruto. And even though we're not going to get to see the teacher and student combination that we all want to see, it's still going to be a very cool episode with Boruto and Sada trying to perfect their craft. Now, the dynamic between both of them is going to be a very cool dynamic. When we talk about Sada and Sasuke basically training to get the Sharingan correct with Sada, it's going to be very cool. Not only is it going to be the sentimental element with Sada being the daughter and Sasuke being the father, it's also going to be cool when Sasuke is actually going to be trying to teach Sada what to do in terms of the Sharingan. Is Sasuke going to be extremely strict on Sada? Is Sasuke going to be like fatherly and try to actually take it a little bit light on Sada, and because of that her training is going to wane a little bit and it's not necessarily going to be as effective? Or is Sada going to actually hate Sasuke, man, because he's just that strict with her and he doesn't necessarily have that much of a patience? If you guys do recall, when we talk about Sasuke, he's extremely short-tempered, but his patience is completely out the window. If Sada doesn't necessarily pick up exactly what Sasuke is talking about, it might be a dilemma. Now, in terms of Boruto and Kakashi, we've seen their dynamic already. When Boruto was trying to become a genin, Kakashi absolutely humbled Boruto. 1000% humbled Boruto. Kakashi wasn't necessarily taking Boruto seriously, but he just did it to the point where Boruto understood that he wasn't nothing. Like, he was completely garbage in terms of the Shinobi Totem Pole, and I think it's going to be the same thing here. I think Boruto is probably going to have a much more effective training session with Kakashi, man, because Kakashi wants Boruto to be great. He said it before. Kakashi sees something in Boruto. Kakashi understands that Boruto is skilled. He understands that Boruto has a lot of potential. But because of that, Kakashi's expectations are probably going to be a lot more heightened with Boruto, and that will probably make Boruto's training that much more difficult. But let me know what you guys think about these episodes in the comment section below, and give me the episode that you guys are most excited for. Me personally, I think episode 166 is probably going to be the best episode. I'm super excited to see that. But also, I know a lot of you guys are going to be super excited for episode 168. Let me know what you guys think. It's me, your boy Baara B, and we out.
It's a knife.